Hey beloveds, this is Shia from Maui, and I am sharing a concept from my life that I'm learning that is kind of a huge aha moment for me that I know will help a lot of people, whether it's you or people you know. So, after COVID, getting back into the gym after a year, um, it became very clear to me that my cardio was not, mainly my breathing was not up to par. And I realized that I have labored breathing, which I think a lot of people must have because I just have lived with it for so many years that I didn't really think about it. I just learned to live with it. And I think a lot of people probably have labored breathing for a couple reasons, and this is my reasons. The breathing, as far as up here, a lot of people's sinuses are clogged from what they're eating or allergies, and mine often are too. They're just not free flowing, so it makes it harder to breathe, in. And then you've got the lung piece, which, if you carry a lot of grief, like I admit that I do, um, it can, cause labored breathing. And there's also, not the cleanest air everywhere. If we're breathing in even just pesticides from them spraying the food, crops, even in Maui, until that's outlawed. And, here we have VOG, which comes from the lava, which is like ashes in the air. We all have different things that are in the air depending on where we're living, which isn't the best to be breathing in, and it can affect our breathing, and kind of get clogged in there. So I was just noticing, like, because I started doing breathing exercises during COVID because I have a guru, Tantra advanced yogi friend. Thank you, David Lopez Chardon, who I realized, gosh, these breathing exercises, they're so much work and I don't really enjoy them always. And it was because my breathing was labored. So, my solutions that I have really been all over it lately because, if your breathing's hampered, everything gets affected. Breathing is the first foundational step to everything, especially working out. So, I knew that I needed to address it. So, and it makes things so much easier because things have improved since I've been addressing it. And boy, my workouts, I have so much more power and so much more energy because obviously, if you can't breathe oxygen, it's not getting into your blood and your bones and muscles mainly. So that they have the energy, because oxygen is energy to do the workout. And I would always have to really hold back because I would get so sore just from not getting enough oxygen, and I couldn't figure it out. I was like, what's wrong with me? I'm capable of doing so much more, and yet I would get so uncomfortably sore that I just couldn't move very well, and it would just be cranky in my body. And now that I'm able to breathe easier, I'm able to work out so much harder, and I feel so much better because, I'm all oxygenated. So I do Kundalini yoga, which is a lot of breathing exercises that are amazing. That it's like this full spectrum experience from spiritual to physical, and I can't recommend it enough. It is fascinating, and it activates you, which is really all you need to know. It activates you in new ways that are dormant, especially your brain, right? And these important pineal gland and frontal cortex areas that lead to higher functioning and enlightenment and whatnot. So if you can get your hands on Kundalini yoga, that's awesome. As far as like some practical stuff, what I did is I'm very much so into essential oils and Young Living and doTERRA, and there's these nasal inhaler things. You can even get empty bottles, and that's what I have. And then I put the right essential oils in them with water. So they have some at the health food store already made up, and then I just keep refilling them with like the eucalyptus and the peppermint. You can't overdo it because they're, it can be strong and maybe burn a little bit, but because these are mucous membranes. But if you just do a couple drops with water, and I do it several times a day, and especially right before I work out and before I go to sleep, because then I can breathe easier and it just kind of opens up the passageways. Then I have to be consciously aware of how I'm breathing. So I make a point to make sure that I'm breathing in enough, because I noticed that I was breathing out way more than I was breathing in, which I think is a sign of I'm always giving and not really receiving enough. But at any rate, it's a little bit of a habit, I think. But anyway, I am very conscious, like during spin class and during the weights, that I'm breathing a lot, because otherwise if I'm not paying attention, I'm just not breathing enough, and I'm breathing too shallow, and then that leads to the soreness and everything. So I'm breathing pretty heavy, especially during the weights and spin too, because it's intense. And I make sure I'm in integrity with my breath. So if I'm losing it and it's just too much, I slow down and make sure I'm in integrity with my breath, because otherwise my body's going to suffer from in the soreness category. So I just slow down, and because we're all at different levels with this, and I'm finding that I'm not having that soreness issue, and I can push it so much more. And then there's stuff you can take, because for workouts there's these things called like blood vessel dilators, and like nitrogen, and like beet juice, for instance, has this natural ability to do that, to where it helps your blood vessels, I guess, dilate so that you can take in more oxygen and breathe easier. So I have beet juice powder, which you can get at the health food store or order online. And there's also a lot of like pre-workout drinks and supplements that have these kind of things in them too, which for me really makes a difference. So I have a supplement that I don't think is on the market anymore. I just have it left over from a while back. But it has those kind of things in it, and it does make quite a difference. And then I recently learned that, mushrooms are quite amazing, magical beings, and cordyceps specifically is good for the respiratory and does a similar thing. So I think I'll probably be taking more of that in a supplement form, or I know that here they have it in powder form where you can kind of get all the mushrooms together, and I add that to my bone broth. But anyway, I'm learning more and more, but cordyceps is the newest one I learned about last night, because I really like the idea of, the natural, and mushrooms are amazing anyway, so it's going to help with respiratory stuff. So I just wanted to share that, because I realized that's quite an aha for me. It's made a huge difference. I worked out, it was my second time working out with chest, like these major big machines at the gym that have to do with chest and back. And I have never used them before. I never really knew how to use them. They looked intimidating. I had some friends, thank you Bob and Carlene, show me how to use them in a special way, their method. And anyway, that segues into those of us who have larger breasts and who aren't working our back and our chest. Oh my God, what a difference. I wish I had known this so long ago, because women who have larger breasts, naturally, it tends to go to my lower back, and my lower back gets worked. So, structurally, I just feel, even just after the second time, I feel so much stronger, because I'm working it hard, but I'm amazed. Like, it's it's like my posture and how I held myself is so different when I do those exercises. And I just didn't know how to use them, didn't know that was important for me, especially with these. And I'm so grateful. So I wanted to pass that on too, because if you're in the same position, then you need to look into it. And if you know someone who is, or have a girlfriend, then show her how to do those back machines and chest machines to help lift and strengthen this whole structural area in order to hold them up, because they're heavy. It's like having 10-pound weights. And that's the downside of being well endowed. That, you know, they never tell you about that when you're probably getting surgery or something. But at any rate, I wanted to pass that on too, because these things have made a huge difference for me, and I want them to help other people too.